Thanks, babe.
Listen to that sound. Creepy, isn't it? Do you know what that is? They're screams of anguish, as if someone were trapped. Hear the rattling of chains.
What happened there? Oh.
Creepy, isn't it? And you know what's even worse? Let me explain what this is. This video was recorded by archaeologists and researchers. They filmed it at the Euphrates River.
Hi, Di. Hi, Shawnee. Good to see you, girls.
In the Bible, specifically in the book of Revelation, it says, "Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates." So the 4 angels who had been prepared for the hour, the day, the month, and the year.
I don't think we've done a series channel on this one, have we? A stream on this one, the 4 angels under the Euphrates. We've mentioned it, but we didn't go into it. This one goes into it 42 minutes, so stuff maybe.
Were released to kill a third of mankind. Could those screams of anguish and the sound of chains be from those angels who are bound? Lately, the Euphrates River has been drying up a lot, and this shows that biblical prophecies are being fulfilled. A few years ago, the Euphrates was much fuller, and it was impossible to conduct archaeological research there. But as soon as the river dried up a bit, things were revealed. Studies show that thousands of years ago, there were cities built right in that area, and the greatest discovery is this: a cave or a hole that was underwater. When the river dried up, it was exposed, and it was exactly in that spot where this video playing on your screen was recorded. Listen again.
Can you hear that? You can hear chains clinking. Let's go back. You can hear chains clinking. Listen to that, guys.
Playing on your screen was recorded. Listen again.
Listen to that. You can hear the actual chains. Wow.
And it was exactly in that spot where this video playing on your screen was recorded. Listen again.
Wow, this is stunning.
And it's very loud.
Wow.
We don't know if the video is real or
hey,
if
Bas,
it
good to
was
see you,
created
bro.
just to scare people, but I'll admit, this video is spine-chilling. Think about it.
I agree.
According to the Holy Bible, at the Euphrates River, right where this video was filmed, there are powerful angels capable of killing billions of people. They're still bound, but soon they'll be released to fulfill their purpose. Sit back comfortably, because now I'm going to tell you more details about these 4 angels who are imprisoned, and we'll examine the sacred prophecies in detail. This study is thorough and full of major revelations, so don't go anywhere. Have you ever stopped to think about what's happening right before your eyes? I'm not just talking about wars, hunger, or the technology that's invading every corner of your life. I'm talking about something much deeper, much darker, something that was written thousands of years ago in the Word of God and now seems to be coming true. Imagine hearing sounds coming from the depths of the earth, screams echoing from beneath a dried up river, as if imprisoned forces were stirring, waiting for the moment to be set free. Sounds like a movie scene, doesn't it? but it's not.
These angels always remind me of you, because it was you who linked them to the sixth seal, I think you did. What seal did you link it to?
It's in the Bible, and it's happening. The book of Revelation describes a terrifying event. 4 angels bound at the banks of the Euphrates River, waiting for the appointed time to be released. Revelation chapter 9, verses 13 to 15 says, "The 6th angel sounded his trumpet, and I heard a voice coming."
There it is, the 6th angel. You're right to pick this verse.
"From the 4 corners of the golden altar before God, saying to the 6th angel who had the trumpet, 'Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates.' So the 4 angels who had been prepared for the hour, the day, the month, and the year were released to kill 1/3 of mankind." Do you have any idea what that means? 1/3 of mankind. We're talking about billions of people being wiped out in a single act of judgment.
Wow.
Now tell me, how can you not tremble when you realize that the Euphrates River, the very one mentioned in Scripture, is drying up before our eyes? News reports show that the riverbed is getting lower and lower, reduced to mere trickles of water in some areas. Do you see?
I wonder, has it ever run dry before? Because a lot of water went missing to make it dry this time. So I wonder if it's ever been dry like that before. I'm going to look it up on Google.
How serious this is. This river has always been a hotspot for conflicts, empires rising against Israel, nations warring against God's people, and now it's disappearing. It's not just a climate issue. It's not just the result of human actions. Something bigger is happening. But here's something even more chilling. Why were these angels bound? The text doesn't give all the details, but there's strong evidence they're not ordinary angels. Many scholars believe these beings might be connected to Lucifer's rebellion, fallen angels detained before their time to prevent premature destruction. Others, though, say they're not evil angels, but angels of judgment, prepared by God for the exact moment they'd be released. Do you see the difference? If they're fallen angels, it means tremendous demonic forces are about to be unleashed. If they're angels of judgment, it means God himself reserved them to carry out a global sentence. Either way, the scenario is absolutely terrifying. Now picture this: billions of people going about their normal lives, heading to work, scrolling on their phones, planning their futures. Suddenly, a heavenly decree is issued. The chains beneath the Euphrates break. 4 angels of cosmic proportions rise. And what happens next isn't just war, isn't just famine, isn't just disease. It's unimaginable destruction.
Okay.
Can you grasp the scale of this tragedy? But you know what's even more disturbing.
Okay, on Chrome it says Euphrates River at the cradle of civilization is drying up. That's what it's saying on Chrome. So even they're admitting it's drying up. Not for the same reasons we think.
The things happening in the world today already remind us exactly of the other signs of Revelation.
Mm-hmm.
Wars breaking out everywhere, whispers of a global conflict getting closer, diseases spreading uncontrollably, bringing governments to their knees, hunger and scarcity growing even in wealthy countries, and surveillance technology that tracks what you buy, where you go, who you talk to. This isn't fiction. This is reality. It's right in front of you. The most striking thing is that none of this is a surprise to those who know the word. Jesus already...
I looked on Chrome and it didn't actually say whether the Euphrates has dried up or not. I mean, it doesn't say whether the Euphrates dried up in centuries ago. It just says what it is now, which is just dry. I asked for where this is, where do you find this earlier, where Euphrates dries up, and I couldn't find it.
But he said in Matthew chapter 24, verse 6,
So it's just the 4 angels then.
Will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Do you see? We're not talking about theories. We're talking about prophecies. Now I want you to think with me. Are these angels about to be released? Is the drying up of the Euphrates just a warning, a prelude to what's coming? And if we're really living in the time when a third of mankind will perish, are you prepared? And you know what's even more shocking? There's a video circulating online, supposedly filmed at the dried up bed of the Euphrates. In it, you can hear screams, as if something were trapped beneath the ground. Some say
It
it's
sounds
fake,
like.
but what if it's not? What if what we're hearing is the sound of chains breaking, the echo of angels stirring, ready to
That's exactly what I heard. Chains rattling and moaning.
be set free? Do you realize the impact of that? This isn't just creepy, it's bone chilling. But tell me, my friend, with all this in mind, how do you view these signs? Coincidence or the literal fulfillment of prophecy? That's
There's no coincidences with God.
the question that'll shake you. Because with every new headline, every new disaster, every time the Euphrates dries up more, it feels like we're one step closer to what's written. And all this ties directly to what we're diving into now, because there are even deeper secrets hidden in this passage from Revelation, and they'll leave you speechless. If those four angels are really about to be released, then we're not talking about something far off, a vague future. We're talking about an event that could unfold at any moment. Can you feel the weight of that? The Bible says they were prepared for the hour, the day, the month, and the year. That means nothing will be off schedule, no delays, no rushing. There's a heavenly clock ticking down to the exact second this release will happen. Now imagine, for centuries these beings have waited bound beneath the Euphrates until the perfect moment arrives. And when that moment comes, there's no turning back. A third of mankind will be struck. Have you ever stopped to calculate what that means?
No.
Today, there are over 8 billion people on Earth. That means over 2 billion people would die in this event. It's so massive that the human mind can't fully grasp it. And what the Bible shows is that this judgment won't come alone. It's part of a sequence of even more severe events.
Yep.
The sounding of the trumpets in Revelation unleashes plagues, destruction, falling stars, bitter waters, darkness covering the world. It's as if each trumpet is a step
All this is upon us already. We know that.
closer to final chaos. And the sixth angel with his trumpet is the one who announces the release of these four beings. Do you see how serious this is? But here's something even more fascinating. The Euphrates isn't just any river. It's mentioned from the very beginning of the Bible. In Genesis chapter 2, verse 14, the Euphrates is one of the rivers flowing from Eden. It's been the stage for battles between empires, a boundary between nations warring against Israel. The prophet Jeremiah also spoke of it as a symbol of judgment. And now in Revelation, it becomes the setting where supernatural forces are bound, awaiting God's final command. This isn't coincidence. It's a prophetic thread running through all of Scripture.
I can't believe the sleep apnea pillow exists. Have you heard about Gorilla Ergo? It's the cutting-edge ergonomic pillow that people actually...
And you know what's even more chilling? The river is drying up for real. Scientists say that by 2040, it could almost completely disappear. Do you see how this connects to the prophecy?
I don't think it's got that long to go. It's pretty dry now. Can't see it lasting to 2040.
Biblical text speaks of the release of the angels at the Euphrates. And right now, that river is becoming just an empty bed, exposed, vulnerable, as if it's making way for what's to come. These aren't just ancient words. It's reality unfolding before us. Let me tell you something that'll give you goosebumps. There are videos circulating showing strange sounds coming from beneath the river, screams, moans, as if something were trapped and trying to break free. Many say it's fake, a fabrication. But what if it's not? What if we're hearing the echo of angels who've waited thousands of years for this moment?
Imagine
Do you
that.
realize how impactful that is?
Yeah.
But there's another interpretation we need to consider. Some scholars argue these angels aren't demons imprisoned, but instruments of God's judgment. In other words, They're not bound as punishment, but reserved for the exact moment. That changes everything. It means we're not.
Not really. I can't see how God would use the angels in hell. It's unlikely that they're going to use the angels, is what I'm thinking, because yeah.
Just talking about evil forces breaking free, but agents of the divine plan, sent to execute a sentence. And if that's the case, there's no escaping, because it's not an
And that's what I was trying to say. It's already done. It's a done deal.
attack from the enemy, but divine justice itself. Now think with me. With everything already happening in the world, hunger, diseases, wars, rising violence, is it really that far off from this event? How many times have you heard people say they've never seen the world as chaotic as it is now?
I
Could that
mean
be
it
because
now.
we're getting closer to the time when Revelation will be fulfilled? Here's a reflection I want you to turn into a comment right now. If you believe the world is already showing clear signs that the end is near, write in the comments, I see the signs. And you know what's even more striking? All this isn't just to cause fear, it's to awaken. Because if the trumpets are already sounding, if the signs are already before us, then you need to open your eyes and hear what God is saying to humanity. Because what lies ahead will be even more unsettling. Have you noticed how biblical prophecies seem to be aligning with current events? It's as if every headline is a piece of a puzzle God revealed thousands of years ago. Revelation isn't just a book of mysterious symbols. It's a vivid picture of what's about to happen. And when we look at the Euphrates drying up, wars multiplying, and hunger ravaging so many.
That's what I was trying to say, Vas. Why would God use evil angels to punish? Like when he done it to the Egyptians back in the day, it was one angel done it to everyone. So why 4 angels needed on this one? You could be right.
Nations, it feels like the pages of the Bible are coming to life in real time. Revelation chapter 9, verse 16 mentions that the army tied to this event would number 200 million. 200 million. Can you imagine a force that colossal moving across the earth? At the time John received the vision, that number was unthinkable. No human army came close to that size. But today, in the modern era, when we look at countries like China, which has claimed to have millions of soldiers at its disposal, that number stops seeming impossible. Do you see the magnitude of this revelation? Now tell me, was John talking about a human army or a spiritual demonic force so vast it seems countless? Either way, the impact is the same.
It's got to be the countless one.
The Bible isn't describing something small, but a global movement, an unprecedented wave of destruction. And the starting point for it all? The great river Euphrates. This isn't just chilling, it's absolutely overwhelming. But there's a detail we can't overlook. The Euphrates has always been a boundary, the boundary between nations hostile to Israel, the boundary of human power against God's chosen people. And now it's the boundary of something even greater, the point where celestial forces await to act. When that boundary breaks, no barrier will hold back the chaos. Can you feel the weight of that? Now here's something that'll blow your mind. Have you noticed how the world is being primed to accept total control? Whether through the economy, technology, or politics, digital currencies, biometrics, mass surveillance, it's all shaping a system where no one can escape. Sound familiar?
It's true.
It's exactly what Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 and 17 describes when it talks about the mark of the beast. Control over who buys, who sells, who participates in society. Do you see how the pieces are falling into place? And what amazes me most, many people read these prophecies and treat them like old stories. But isn't it curious that everything that once seemed impossible is now perfectly feasible with the technology we have? What was once seen as metaphor can now be literal. What was once distant is now knocking at the door. And here's a special request for you. If you followed this message this far, it's because this topic moves you. So don't let it pass by unnoticed. Subscribe to the channel right now. This is important because together we'll keep studying and understanding every detail of these revelations. With every video, every explanation, you'll see we're not talking about guesses, but clear signs right in front of us. Subscribing is the way to not miss any of these alerts that could literally open your eyes to what's happening. But the big question is, why would God allow something so devastating? Why release 4 angels who will bring death to 1/3 of mankind? The answer may be tough, but it's clear. Judgment. Humanity has rejected God, mocked the scriptures, chosen to walk in rebellion, and there comes a moment when God's justice manifests unrelentingly. Do you understand? It's not cruelty. It's righteous judgment. It's the result of humanity's choices. And the most disturbing part is that even amid so many plagues, Revelation shows that many still won't repent. Revelation chapter 9, verses 20 and 21 says, "The rest of mankind who were not killed by these plagues did not repent of the works of their hands, so as not to worship demons and idols of gold."
Yeah, that's true. There's giants underground in the dumb tunnels, deep underground military tunnels.
Silver, bronze, stone, and wood, which cannot see or hear or walk. Nor did they repent of their murders, their sorcery, their sexual immorality, or their thefts. Do you see? Even at the height of suffering, many will remain blind. This reveals the hardness of the human heart. Even in the face of evidence, many won't want to let go of sin. And this is a warning not just for them, but for you and me. Because the question is, how's your heart? Would you be among those who resist or those who surrender? This is an urgent reflection because time is running out and the signs are getting clearer. And all this leads us to an even more unsettling point, because if people don't repent, the judgment doesn't stop, it escalates. Have you ever thought about how stubborn the human heart can be in the face of danger? The Bible is clear. Even seeing judgments fall on the earth, even watching multitudes perish, many will still refuse to turn to God. That's terrifying. Instead of repenting, they'll choose to continue in idolatry, violence, sorcery, sexual immorality, and theft. Sin hardens the heart so much that not even the trumpets of Revelation will break the stubbornness of many. Do you see how serious this is? But there's something even deeper we need to understand. When Revelation talks about these judgments, it's not just showing meaningless disasters. Each event is part of a divine order. Each trumpet sound is a call to awaken. Each pain is a warning that the time of mercy is coming to an end. It's as if God is shouting to humanity, "Wake up, because the end is near." Can you feel the weight of that warning? And isn't it curious that even amidst so much chaos, some still try to find purely scientific explanations for what's happening? The Euphrates dries up. It's just climate change, strange sounds from beneath the ground, just natural phenomena, wars multiplying, just political conflicts. Do you see? There will always be those who want to ignore the obvious, that there's a spiritual dimension behind it all. But now here's something that'll hit you even harder. The Bible says that in the last days, people will give ear to deceiving spirits. And what do we have today? Twisted ideas, philosophies contrary to the word, a flood of distractions to keep people from the truth. It's as if everything is being set up for the moment when the Antichrist will take control. And when that day comes, those who are blind won't see the danger because they've already been conditioned to accept the deception. Let me tell you something that'll give you chills. Have you noticed how people are increasingly okay with giving up freedom for security? First it was surveillance, then digital currencies, now even chips implanted under the skin. Sound familiar? It's the exact setup for the mark described in Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 and 17. Do you see how it's all coming together? And here's a special request from me. If this message has spoken to your heart so far, I want you to click the like button right now. This is super important because when you do, the video reaches more people and more folks can be alerted to what's happening. Imagine how many lives could wake up with one simple action from you. Click like and help spread this urgent message. But back to our topic. What blows me away is how precise the details are. The Bible doesn't speak vaguely. It names the Euphrates. It talks about 4 angels. It says they're prepared for the hour, the day, the month, and the year. That's meticulous, not speculation. And when we look at today's reality, every detail seems to find its place. Doesn't that leave you speechless? And if these angels are already stirring, if we're already hearing echoes of their release, it means the world is about to enter a period like nothing ever seen.
I think that's right.
Jesus said in Matthew chapter 24, verse 21, "For then there will be great distress unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never to be equaled again."
Hey, I'm pretty good at this.
Dad. Pause! The washer's done. Go check.
Nice try. It goes to drying automatically.
In the America's Cup, as in life, if you ask who comes second, there is only one answer.
Can you imagine a time so terrible that even the worst wars in history can't compare to it? That's exactly what's coming. But even in this scenario of darkness, there's something extraordinary. God still offers the chance for repentance. The door of grace is still open. There's still the opportunity to choose to be on the right side. And the question for you is, how long will you ignore the signs? How long will you close your eyes to what's right in front of you? And if the heavenly clock is about to strike the final minute, then we're only beginning to grasp the depth of what's to come. Picture the scene with me, a world in collapse, crowds in panic, governments unable to provide answers, and at the same time, invisible forces being unleashed, fulfilling exactly what was written thousands of years ago. That's what Revelation describes. It's not just a natural catastrophe. It's not just the result of human mistakes. It's divine judgment, ordained in heaven and executed on earth. The sacred text says, these 4 angels were prepared. That word is powerful. It's not something improvised, not a desperate reaction. It's something planned with precision. They weren't just bound. They were reserved for a specific purpose. This shows that nothing escapes God's control. Even the chaos is under his sovereignty. Do you see how impressive that is? But now here's something that'll give you goosebumps. When these angels are released, the Bible says 1/3 of mankind will be destroyed. These aren't just numbers. These are people, entire families, entire cities. Can you imagine the psychological, emotional, and spiritual impact of living in a time when suddenly billions vanish in death? Can you picture the desperation, the fear, the deafening silence that will grip the earth? And what makes it even more disturbing is that even so, many will remain blind. They'll keep rejecting God, chasing idols, seeking refuge in human systems. It's as if the pain isn't enough to open their eyes. This shows how deceptive the human heart can be. The prophet Jeremiah already said in Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9, "The heart is deceitful above all things and beyond cure. Who can understand it?" Do you see how the word is fulfilled in every detail? And here's something fascinating, the direct connection to today. Wars are multiplying. Epidemics are sweeping the planet. The global economy is on the brink of collapse. People are increasingly dependent on control systems. It all feels like a prelude, a preparation, as if the stage is being set for the final act to begin. Do you feel it? These aren't coincidences. They're signs. Let me tell you something that'll shake you. Many believe the drying up of the Euphrates is directly tied to the release of these angels. And isn't it curious that right now, in our time, this phenomenon is happening on camera? This isn't just science.
Yeah, man.
It's prophecy unfolding. It's the Bible being fulfilled before the eyes of an unbelieving generation. And more, when we look at the current geopolitical landscape, we see the regions near the Euphrates are in constant conflict. Iraq, Syria, Turkey, Iran, all these nations are at the center of global tensions. Do you see how this connects to the biblical text? It's not just a river drying up. It's a strategic region of revelation being prepared for the final act. The most extraordinary thing is that all this was already written. John, exiled on the island of Patmos, with no access to technology or scientific knowledge, described with detail something we can only now understand. This is proof that the Bible isn't an ordinary
Change your
book.
mind.
It's the living word of God, announcing with precision what was to come. And in light of all this, one question echoes: are you prepared? Because we're not talking about fiction. We're talking about an imminent future. And every headline you read, every image of the Euphrates drying up, every war that intensifies is like a trumpet sounding, warning the time is running out. And if the signs are already so clear, then we need to look even deeper, because the release of these angels isn't the only mystery. There are other prophetic events happening in parallel, and they all point to the same destiny. Have you noticed how everything seems to be converging? The Euphrates drying up, wars erupting on a global scale, hunger increasing, plagues reappearing, economies crumbling. Doesn't it feel like the world?
Wow, Diane, boy arrested. You guys are going right off. We're going off nature-wise. You guys are going off military-wise. Well, your kids are going nuts. We just had 2 kids murdered in Melbourne.
The world is being pushed toward a single point, and that point is exactly what the Bible called the end times. This isn't exaggeration. This is reality, and it's right before our eyes. Revelation chapter 16, verse 12, brings another striking detail about the Euphrates River. The 6th angel poured out his bowl on the great river, Euphrates, and its water was dried up to prepare the way for the kings from the east. Do you see the connection? First, in chapter 9, the angels are released at the Euphrates. Then, in chapter 16, the river dries up to allow armies to move toward Armageddon. It's as if the river is the stage for 2 pivotal moments, the release of angels and the preparation for the final war. Now picture this with me. Matt?
Hey, Gabe? Has she gone yet?
Oh, honey, hang on.
You don't have to rush if you haven't gone.
What?
Can you give me soy chicken, please?
Massive armies marching from the east, crossing a river that no longer exists, heading for the final confrontation against God himself. Does that sound impossible? Not anymore. Today, with military technology, with the number of soldiers some nations claim to have, with tensions between nuclear powers, this is more plausible than ever. Can you feel the weight of this revelation? But what's even more striking, the text doesn't just talk about human armies. It also shows demonic spirits going out to deceive the kings of the earth, gathering them for battle. In other words, it's not just a political or military conflict. It's a global spiritual manipulation, leading leaders and nations to fulfill a plan they don't even understand. Do you see what this means? That behind every decision, every war, every treaty, there's an invisible spiritual battle. And when we look at current events, it's impossible not to think of this. How many times have you seen leaders making absurd, illogical decisions that seem to push the world to the brink of chaos? Doesn't it feel like they're being guided by something beyond human? The Bible had already warned this would happen. Now here's something.
I'll tell you what I'm not feeling. I'm not feeling this 23rd of September rapture. I'm aware of it. It's doing nothing for me.
Thing that'll give you
So I think it's not true.
chills. There are already theories that in the deserts of the Middle East, there are massive underground structures, secret military bases, hidden technology. And some believe these structures might be tied to the preparation for this time.
They found Nimrod in Iran, I think it was, or Iraq.
Coincident?
I think they found Nimrod in Iraq.
Or are we already seeing the backstage being set for the final judgment? And here, my friend, I want you to do something right now. If you've grasped the seriousness of these signs so far, I want you to leave a comment with this specific phrase. I'm not blind to the signs. Write it, because it's a declaration that you recognize something much bigger is happening and you're paying attention to what God is showing. But back to the biblical text. What's most striking is how humanity will be deceived. Many will think they're fighting for ideologies, territories, or power. But in reality, they'll be...
So on my way to the shops, I got one of them mobility scooters because I got a bung leg. So on the way to the shops, if I'm on my own, I'll pray over the neighbourhood. Like there's a few neighbourhoods that you can go through. And I go through them and pray over them. And there's even a lodge of the Masons there with old people housing. And I've actually gone past there and specifically preached against them.
manipulated by evil spirits into the great war against the Creator himself. Do you see how serious this is? And it all starts where? At the Euphrates River.
Yep.
The same river drying up before the world's eyes. The same river that's been the stage for empires and boundaries. The same river the Bible highlighted as central to the end times. This isn't coincidence. It's a clear warning. And if the Bible already showed that the river would dry up, that angels would be released, that armies would cross its empty bed, then what more do we need to realize we're living in apocalyptic days? The stage is already set. And with each passing day, the curtain of time lifts a little more, revealing the final scene. Have you noticed how, with every step we take in this reflection, it gets even more chilling? Revelation isn't just a distant book full of indecipherable symbols. It's like a detailed map showing exactly where we are and where we're headed. And when we look at what's happening today, it's impossible not to feel we're already walking the lines drawn by God thousands of years ago. Revelation chapter 9, verse 17, describes John's vision of the armies released after the four angels. The horses and riders I saw in my vision looked like this. Their breastplates were fiery red, dark blue and yellow as sulfur. The heads of the horses resembled the heads of lions, and out of their mouths came fire, smoke, and sulfur. Can you picture the scene? It's a terrifying image, as if John were describing modern weapons of mass destruction, something he had no language to explain. Think about it. Fire, smoke, and sulfur coming from their mouths. What
he literally saw a dragon.
does that remind you of? Cannons, chemical weapons, nuclear explosions? For someone in the 1st century with no knowledge of technology, how could he describe tanks, jets, or missiles? John wrote with the words he had, but we read it today and recognize this sounds dangerously close to modern weaponry. You see how extraordinary this is, and what's even more striking, even amidst this destruction, Revelation makes clear that the judgment isn't just physical but spiritual. People will keep clinging to idols, demons, and perverse practices. It's as if the chaos isn't enough to break the human heart's resistance. This shows how hardened humanity can be against God. It's terrifying to think that even seeing the exact fulfillment of prophecies, many will still scoff. Now here's something that'll hit you deeply. There are already signs the world is ready to accept leaders promising peace, even if it's a false peace. How many times have you heard talk of a new world order, global treaties, or organizations claiming to work for humanity's unity? Sounds nice, doesn't it? But behind those words is the preparation for the Antichrist's government. A global system uniting politics, economics, and religion under
you
one
can't have
control.
none.
Do you see the danger in that? And when you put all the pieces together,
You cough
the
too
Euphrates
much.
drying up, the angels ready to be released, armies being prepared, a world crying out for leadership, you realize we're on the brink of something massive.
Yeah, we do.
This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's biblical prophecy.
It's
It's
true.
the word of God being fulfilled with chilling precision.
It's true.
What leaves me speechless is that the Bible was written in such different times by men so far apart, yet it delivers a single, coherent, aligned message. There's no other book like it.
I've said that. I've said it's like man is just a pen, God is the author. I've said that to the Muslims and the Catholics.
It spoke of the beginning and speaks of the end. And the end, my friend, is anything but pleasant for those who keep ignoring the signs. Now imagine being alive in this time, watching it all unfold before your eyes.
Yep.
Wars growing bigger, natural disasters, hunger, diseases, persecutions, and finally, angels of judgment released to wreak destruction on a global scale. Can you imagine the terror that will grip people? Hearts will fail from fear.
I got to admit, guys, I don't pray for my enemies. I haven't really got any enemies, but if I do have enemies, I would dislike the Muslims the most
Jesus
and the Catholics.
already said this in Luke chapter 21, verse 26. People will faint from terror, apprehensive of what is coming on the world, for the heavenly bodies will be shaken. And you know what's even more shocking? Everything points to us racing toward that time. It's not something that'll take centuries. It's something that could start at any moment.
Diane, did I see it just before I went live that there was a 6.4 earthquake somewhere in America's sphere of influence? Pretty sure that's right. It's only just happened.
God's clock is ticking, and with each passing day, we get closer to the exact moment those chains will break. And if we can already smell the smoke, hear rumors of war, see the Euphrates turning to dust, then we need to prepare. Because the release of these angels will just be the start of a period unlike anything humanity has ever seen. Can you imagine the moment those 4 angels are finally released? The world will already be in collapse, but their release will be like a final blow to humanity. It's as if all the tension built up over centuries explodes at once, and the Bible makes clear this isn't random, not the devil doing whatever he wants. It's God allowing the judgment to happen at the exact time on the appointed day. The most chilling part is thinking that these angels have been prepared since creation. While humanity goes about its routine, working, studying, dreaming, there are invisible forces awaiting the divine command to act. Does that shake you? Because it means that behind the normal life everyone knows, there's a cosmic spiritual reality ready to manifest. And when we look at the world today, doesn't it feel like everything is being set up? Wars spreading across the globe, economies collapsing, hunger and epidemics afflicting millions, and control technology advancing rapidly. It feels like we're in a countdown to this apocalyptic moment. Now, here's something that'll blow you away. Many believe these 4 angels don't act alone, but lead vast spiritual forces, armies of destruction. Remember the number in Revelation chapter 9, verse 16, 200 million. Some think it describes human soldiers, but others believe it refers to spiritual entities, beings prepared to cause chaos on a global scale. Either way, the impact will be the same, mass destruction like never before. And what's even more extraordinary, the fact that all this is so close. We're not talking about something far off anymore. The pieces are already on the board. The signs are already being fulfilled.
It's
The
true.
Euphrates is already drying up. The geopolitical stage is already inflamed. Technology is already ready to implement a global control system.
Yep.
Do you see?
Yeah.
It's like we're just waiting for the final snap for it all to happen. And here, my friend, I've got a special request. If you follow this message and it makes sense to you, leave a comment with this phrase: I believe the judgments have already begun. Write it, because it's a way of declaring you're not asleep, that you're seeing the signs the world tries to ignore. But back to the text, there's a detail we can't forget. No matter how terrifying, none of this escapes God's control. The angels won't break free before the time. The judgment won't come off schedule. The chaos won't set in without the Lord's permission. This should bring awe, but also awareness that everything follows the divine plan. And you know what's even more intriguing? The Bible shows that while some faint from fear, others will be strengthened by faith. In other words, this time of judgment will also...
That'll be us, guys. We're pretty faithful. We're righteous.
There'll be a time of decision. Those who are firm in Christ will have hope, even in the darkest time the earth has ever seen. Do you see how extraordinary that is? And if the release of these angels is just one step toward the end, then we need to look beyond it, because Revelation doesn't just talk about judgment. It also talks about something beyond the destruction. Have you noticed how everything we've read points to the same destination? The trumpets, the angels, the Euphrates drying up, the armies being prepared, the mark of the beast, global control. It all converges on an inevitable moment. The Bible calls this moment the Great Tribulation, a period so intense that Jesus said, if it weren't shortened, no one would survive. That's in Matthew chapter 24, verse 22. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive. But for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. Now picture this with me. Billions of people in despair, the world in darkness, governments collapsing, religions in confusion, and in that scenario, God allowing angels of judgment to bring destruction on an unprecedented scale. It seems impossible to endure.
No, it's true.
But you know what's even more extraordinary? Even in that chaos, God will still be in control. He'll still be calling, still giving a chance for hardened hearts to turn to him. But the big question is, where will you be in that moment? Among those who mock the prophecies, saying it's all coincidence, or among those who watch, recognize the signs, and prepare for the meeting with the Lord? That's the decision that defines your eternal destiny. And we can't forget something. Revelation isn't just about judgment. It's also about victory. Because after the trumpets, after the bowls, after the release of these angels comes the glorious return of Jesus. The King of Kings will descend with power and great glory, and every eye will see him. Those who mocked will tremble, but those who believed will rejoice. Revelation isn't just the end, it's also a beginning, the end of evil's dominion and the start of Christ's eternal reign. And you know what's even deeper? You don't have to wait for the chaos to decide. The opportunity is before you now. The same Jesus who will come to judge the world is the one who today extends his hand to save. The same Christ who will set foot on the earth in glory is the one knocking at your heart's door today. The choice is yours. Ignore the signs and be caught off guard, or surrender and be protected.
Oh, where'd they go? Hang on, guys, I'll find it in a sec. There it is.
We're not alone.
It takes only 3 seconds to cut a steel plate. Weld a loose railing in 2 seconds. This is the portable laser welding.
The problem is what we can get in. If you accept that disinformation narrative, that we don't have anything that can move like that, humans don't, a priori, you're going to reach the conclusion that everything that those objects are doing or have been doing are alien. CIA is using advanced tech to stage false alien abductions in Brazil and Argentina, targeting their word peasants before it's psychological warfare about it. It's in black and white. Media corporations are vertically and horizontally integrated into this covert system. And if you actually speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, you will be canceled. I think we're at an inflection point where it's going to get out there that we're not alone. The problem is what we can get into in a little bit, cosmological confusion. People don't know what's extraterrestrial versus what's ours versus what's from another dimension that's extra dimensional and not extraterrestrial. And there's some fine lines between the two, but very important ones. I think we're going to get into a period where clarification of which of these phenomena, plural, are actually from another star system and which are concocted by counterintelligence operations for the purpose of gaslighting the public, but more importantly, inducing fear and trying to build up a global military-industrial complex response to a threat from outer space. That's always been the objective of the secrecy, by the way. That's number one. Number two has been hiding the technologies that would terminate oil and nuclear power.
Thank you, Voss.
Solar with the very advanced energy and propulsion technologies, which have been mastered for well over 80 years. But this is why we did the documentary The Lost Century, which everyone can see for free on Tubi or Amazon Prime or wherever. So I think this is going to be the big challenge. And what my job is like...
You guys would know who this guy is, Stephen Greer. He's pretty high up with the intelligence community as a whistleblower.
I'm a retired trauma emergency doctor, but I'm focused full time on trying to get the correct information to the president and senior leaders in the House and Senate, which we have done. There's a countervailing disinformation campaign headed up by a number of people that keep neutralizing that clarity for the purpose of obfuscating the truth. I like the name of your show, Unveiled. I always say that a big part of what we're doing is pulling the veil back on this sort of labyrinthine system of secrecy and black budget programs that have been largely corporatized, that have confused the public and continue to gaslight the officials in government, not only here, but also in the United Kingdom and Canada and other places where I'm working. So I think this is a global problem. It's not just a U.S. problem, and that's what we're trying to address. But there's a federal law enforcement initiative at a very high level and a very secret level that has concluded what some of the members of Congress, like Mr. Burleson and others that I've worked with, have concluded, and that is that there's a transnational criminal organization that is running these programs that would make the mafia look like a minor law enforcement problem. And they have reached that conclusion, and that there are serious investigations. Now, this also brings up a number of questions, and that is, you can pass every law and go through everything that's going on.
Diane, that's going to help bring on the famine. That what they're doing, what you just what the link you just posted.
Now in the Congress with the Senate and the
that's going to cause a famine in the long term. I think so. Anyway,
House the National Defense Authorization Act, but which the Defense Spending Bill, just for short. We hope it's non-kinetic, in other words, peaceful, but there needs to be preparation to do it under any conditions. And the reason for that is that
hi, Ronnie, welcome to the channel.
The technologies they reverse engineered from extraterrestrial vehicles, which was pretty successfully achieved by October of 1954. We had mastered gravity control, gravity wave propulsion systems by October 1954. So I was not a twinkle in my father's eye when that was achieved. I was born in 1955. I just turned 70. And so what I've found is that the technologies are in the hands of an unsupervised and rogue element that have abused them and are an existential threat, not only to our national security, but also to world.
See, he's a bit of a stooge because he'd have to know they're fallen angels and ETs. They're not extraterrestrial, they're extra dimensional. He would have to know that, yet he doesn't mention the Bible at all.
Peace and security. And it is something that is coming to a head only because as disclosure goes forward, there's a risk.
Oh, not because God's bringing it forward.
Of a reaction from that group, the reactionaries, that could be very dangerous. The other big red line that's out there no one's talking about, and this is probably the biggest one, which I began to talk about some years ago, and it's now reached the point where I've gotten confirmation from 3 different sources inside intelligence operations at various bases where operations connected to
Hey, Phil,
UFOs,
good to see you, mate.
Extraterrestrial craft, reverse engineering are, and that is that these technologies in the mid-50s were pretty amazing, actually, in terms of things that look like a UFO that can lift up, levitate, and fly off, right? And everyone would think that it was an alien craft, quote unquote. And those have been used in false flag operations and deceptive operations for decades. But what people don't realize is that there's a concomitant increase in the biological as well as electromagnetic weapon technologies from studying extraterrestrial materials that have now been turned against not only humans in some cases, but are being turned against the extraterrestrial vehicles and their people. And that there's a clear warning that's gone out that we've reached the point of being a threat to other places in space due to quantum potential weapons and scalar systems that go faster than the speed of light that have been weaponized. And that these programs are actually
Vast knows something about this CRISPR technology.
endangering all life on Earth. You cannot overstate the risk of this. Now, neither the president nor the Congress have a full grasp of the problem yet. They're beginning to, actually, very much so. But it's going to take some action, and the action is very intimidating because I don't know if I'll just tell you a story. It's apocryphal, but it's illustrative of the problem. 2 or 3 years ago, I was with some guys who have been in special forces, which for those who don't know would be your top military operations like Navy SEALs and Delta Force, Green Berets, etc. And they are been asked to do something about this. And I said, well,
Wow.
Here's what you're going to encounter. You're not, you, the mainstream Pentagon, our top special forces, have technologies circa 1940s, 30s, 40s, meaning jets, helicopters,
Come on, Lou. Come on.
Humvees, Jeeps,
Come on.
or the equivalent, tanks,
Come on. Whoop up.
various other weapons,
girl.
right? You're going up against
Yeah.
an organization that
Yeah,
have
relax.
technologies that have been
Nah, it'll
developed
get
over the
better.
last 80 years.
Just
in the
relax,
40s,
sweetheart.
that would make your toes curl
That's not
if you were a
relaxing.
military strategist. I work with those people. So tactically, there's a big problem, and that is there's a mismatch between the constitutional government of the United States and the Pentagon, the legal part of it, and the illegal black part of it that have technologies that are thousands of years, and I'm not exaggerating, ahead. So then how do you resolve this problem? So there's a number of strategies that have to be employed. Legal ones, investigative ones, criminal prosecutions, the invoking of the RICO statute, the Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization law that was passed in 1970 to take down the mafia. Those all have to come into play.
They tried to bring Diddy down, P. Diddy down like that, the RICO laws.
The Congress is going to have
I know a bit about the RICO laws, being my interest as an ex-crim.
to be supportive, and more importantly, the White House, the Oval Office, are going to have to approve certain executive orders, which I've already provided to them. And if this doesn't get resolved, I think within a couple of years, we're going to be in a world of hurt. So I think that there isn't 80 more years to piss away, excuse my language, or even 30 more. When I first President
Yeah.
Clinton CI director in 19.
Yeah, there's no way he can't be an asset. He's got to be an asset because you don't get a same as who's that guy who does the reptilian stick? David, I can't remember his name now. The pommy guy. He sticks the reptilians. David Icke.
93. That's when I learned that the president and CI director at that time were being blocked and had not been read into or briefed on the matter. And I didn't believe it. The FedEx I have, it's in our archive. And actually, people want to see documentation on everything I'm going to talk about in this show. Go to Disclosure Project Intelligence Archive. It's bpiarchive.com. It's free. It's 35 years of accumulated evidence, documents, terabytes of information, 115 or 20 whistleblowers' testimony with their name, rank, and serial number, as well as their video testimonies. It's all in there. It's way more than anything the House or the Senate will ever have in front of them, in my opinion, at least at this point in the nearby future. But, what I discovered was the chain of command got severed.
Bev, you're sitting on a monster. Big, isn't it?
Awaken your super.
Stupid Dad.
This battle of the generations is about to get messy.
Oh, Hughes, what are you doing?
I'm cleaning my tongue.
Like a normal person does.
The Gen's back, September 6th.
Imagine a kitchen where timeless elegance meets endurance. With Martin Stainless,
And there was a decapitation, if you will, or a little bit of a coup d'etat that happened in the late 1950s.
Yeah, David Icke, yep.
Inadvertently lost control of these covert operations.
Diane, he's got to be an asset as well. You don't get away saying the things they say unless it's controlled release. Because it's simple. That's just my opinion. That's what I think.
Dealing with the retrieval and reverse engineering of extraterrestrial vehicles that had begun in the 40s. So in the late 50s, Eisenhower wanted to have an open contact event, much like what our CE5 contact concept is, but governmental. And the ETs wanted to do it peacefully, and they
take us to our leader.
Wanted us to get rid of all these thermonuclear weapons and make peace on the planet. And there are a number of reasons for that. One is, I think these civilizations have a long-term interest in the planet that predates modern civilization as we know it. And number two, I think that when we detonate an atomic or a thermonuclear weapon, it sends out an electromagnetic pulse that has within it a scalar signal, which just visualize instead of a wave like this, it's a point that goes out longitudinally at multiples of the speed of light, and it disrupts trans-dimensional interstellar communications and transportation. In other words, it's actually disruptive. It sort of rips through the universe that way. And this was not appreciated when we detonated the first atomic bomb, but boy, did we find out quickly thereafter, because there were swarms of ET craft and surveillance around all of our nuclear facility. And it's not because they were hostile. They realized that humans had reached a technological point of being able to destroy the whole planet, but
that's like the Sasquatches, the Bigfoots.
Could also be a threat elsewhere.
They're a threat dimensionally.
Now
apparently, whenever you see a Sasquatch, there's UFOs in the area at the same time. That's a common occurrence, apparently.
Couple that with us going out into space in the 1950s. Sputnik was 1957, and then we went and progressed all the way to the lunar landing in 69 within 12 years. So they also knew that a covert program had reverse engineered their technologies, and that we had craft beginning in the late 50s, early 60s that were capable of not interstellar, but going around our solar system. So before we landed on the moon, we had what were called ARVs, or alien reproduction vehicles, that were zipping around out our solar
Wow, I didn't know that.
system. And we have firsthand testimony to this effect, by the way, in our archive. So at that point, you know, the president and the oversight key people, the Gang of Eight, as they call them in the Congress, pretty much lost control of these covert operations. And this was the genesis of Eisenhower's famous speech, "Beware the military-industrial complex," because it will become a threat to our democratically alive and our national security. He saw that firsthand. He did not refer to the UFO issue, but at the same time, he realized what he was up against. The only president that tried to go the distance against this cabal was Jack Kennedy, and it certainly got him assassinated.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. The next,
I do know that was one of the reasons they unalived Kennedy, because he had something to do with getting rid of the Fed system as well. So he's going to do the exposure to the UFOs, and he wanted to get rid of the Feds, and well, we know what happened to him.
president, who I think probably did the most to try to do this.
It's amazing you got to warn what you say. Do you remember when I was doing videos that were five hours long, and I just didn't have enough time to fill it all up? Now I battle to get something to watch that I haven't used before.
Ironically,
Things are just eating right up.
President Clinton, CIA director I briefed. In 94, 95, they started a project after I had the meetings, and we provided a lot of documentation to the administration, briefing document that was about 500 pages long. Mr. Clinton reviewed this very, very assiduously, by the way. And he determined that they needed to stand up an operation, and his team Red.
Well, Diane, so they're putting their drones up, and you're putting up your aircraft. I wonder who's getting a better deal there. Wow, that's heavy, Di.
Which would be a group of special forces guys who would take on what they call Team Black, meaning the illegal programs, now called legacy programs, that are sitting on all this tech.
But it's not so much now. It's starting to get light. It's starting to get dark. But halfway through winter, it was getting dark a lot early, and it stayed that way all through winter. We just had one of the darkest winters we've had.
And are keeping all this secret. Team Blue was just a conventional military. Unfortunately, that entity, that Team Red entity, was under-engineered, meaning it was not able to take on what I described previously a few minutes ago, and most of them were killed or they were absorbed into these black projects. There are some that are still living who, when they were very young, were put in the Team Red, trying to fix this problem, who now are in Team Black, who have come forward and are working with us and with law enforcement. So, but now they're, of course, 50s instead of 20, and they have a huge amount of knowledge and experience, but they're also very aware of the use of lethal force and so-called wet works, which are assassination, targeted killings. Wet comes from blood. And that, you know, they have to be very...
How's your summer, Di? Did you find longer days than normal? I'm not one to buy into this, but I literally remember saying to Gabe, the sun's getting darker earlier, and she just blew it off with, that's just the way it is. But no, I specifically brought it up and mentioned it to Gabe.
Careful, and one of the things we're trying...
And that was before winter was even over.
Trying to also set up is surveillance around all these high-valued whistleblowers, and anyone who would make a move towards them, we will catch them red-handed. We, not me, but the people who are in senior law enforcement. So these are all things going on kind of sub rosa, behind the scenes, that I just wanted to address. And then there are the things you're going to hear about in the Congress that are the normal dog and pony show with ufology and whatnot. But I think that for the most part, we're at a key turning point. We're going to have to choose. And you know, one of the president's friends told me that
Die.
he really wasn't wanting to take this on right now. And I said, well, he's not going to have a choice. You know, as I see it.
Diane, you sound like Yoda from Star Wars. Hot it was this summer, not looking into the winter. Hot it was this summer.
There's not going to be a choice. This is going to happen on his watch, and it's going to happen well before.
Yeah, that's true.
In 2028, this is only 2025, and like it or not, this is all going to come out, and it has to be managed.
Okay, and if we're just about to hit tribulation now, which I believe we are, that would take us up to 2027. That's another year to go to finish tribulation before the Great Tribulation.
If it's managed improperly, it would be much worse than the problems we had with COVID. So, and this has been said to me and understood.
Oh, the virus is back.
Senior intelligence people with the administration. But
I'll tell you, Diane, the jab's not going to come near us. We just completely destroy the jabbers.
But it's, I mean, they realize what's really going on and that everything we've been saying for 35 years is true, and that it's a massive national security problem with an organization and constellation of corporate and quasi-governmental interests that absolutely trump, no pun intended, the capacities of the conventional legal constitutional government. And that includes surveillance. You know, I've been in SCIFs, the Secure Compartment and Information Facilities.
Guys, I might do a show tomorrow on candid crypt cameras where they go into the bush and film walk trails and what they catch on them, because you see monsters and everything on them. It's pretty interesting.
The first thing I say,
I'm thinking of doing that tomorrow
when I go into there, I go, you know, everything in here is monitored, even though you're in a sealed, electromagnetically sealed space, because there are technologies the organization you're worried about, just now learning about, have that can penetrate space-time and extract anything going on without normal electromagnetic field. And this is the physics that we understand. It's very advanced, and it's certainly off the radar of the normal briefings that Senate Intelligence or Armed Services or the president gets. So this is another disadvantage, is that the organization that is keeping all this secret.
Are you guys paying $600 a month for electricity? You had over $600 heating bill just for last winter. Oh no, last month for winter.
They have surveillance technologies, not just offensive weaponry and craft and man-made UFOs, which are the majority of the ones people see, by the way. They have these amazing abilities to penetrate any point in space or time and extract any intelligence or information from that volume of space and time. And they are not normal National Security Agency signals intelligence or SIGINT. It's very advanced tech. So this gets into another disadvantage, and that is the element of surprise can't happen. So ultimately, knowledge is power. So government officials having the knowledge about this and then knowing what tools in their toolkit they have and which ones are in the gray area, perhaps, of legality that need to be used that I won't talk about here. How do you fix this problem? And most importantly, you always have the rule of law. So, I mean, ultimately, civilization is the foundation of it, is that we collectively agree to live in a system that has certain rules and laws and what have you. And there are tools in the Department of Justice and FBI and federal marshals and Pentagon criminal investigative divisions that can bring brought to bear on illegal operations that involve an embezzlement of huge sums of federal funds, and that would also stop the worst offenses going on that include the targeting and downing of innocent ET craft that are here to protect us, quite frankly, And then more importantly, or equally importantly, is the use of these same advanced platforms, they're called ATs, advanced technology. They used to be called ARVs, alien reproduction vehicles, that are being used to target, kidnap, abduct, torture, and traffic humans, but also do human experimentation. We know where some of this is going on. We have whistleblowers in those systems. And this has also been handed over to law enforcement. See, these are terms that are concocted because they are deliberately obfuscated, confuse people. So I like being very specific when I go into a brief. I go, well, we have interstellar civilizations that are also transdimensional. If you're going beyond the speed of light, which means you have to traverse other dimensions in order to go from point A to B. It's quantum entanglement, right? Now, you also have weird things. You know, it's kind of like that Hegel lectures.
See, I like this quantum physics stuff and things like this. When I usually play this stuff, I don't get the content, the views I usually get, but I like them, and you guys seem to like them.
About this WSF, great term from the CIA, WSFM, weird science and frickin' magic. It's all the really secret stuff. And that's what it's called. And my uncle was Northrop Grumman engineer his whole life, and he worked on the team that put the lunar module on the moon with Neil Armstrong. But at Northrop, they just call it PFM, pure fucking magic. You can redact that word if you want.
That's okay.
But
Leave it in.
all right. But so that's really what it's called, and it's very advanced stuff. So what you have is the ability to then not only have man-made UFOs using WSFM weird technologies like Stranger Things that can then induce phenomena from an other dimension, extra-dimensional beings. So, and these are beings, I mean, you might call them boogums, goblins, demons, angels, whatever. And that is not an extraterrestrial biological entity, even. But if you are new to this, like the president or members of Congress, I'm sitting in Washington, the White House is right there.
Yo, R-I-C-E. Let's cook it. Rice, baby. All right, stop. Grab a plate and listen. Rice is back with a whole new dimension. Rice, baby.
Yeah, look, I'm going to eat that.
Now that's the feeling. Progress.
The Blue Space are here to help you bring your
bloody
dreams to life. Explore quality, on-trend.
The Capitol domes right there. I can see it from my condo here. And what you realize is that they're starting now just beginning to look into this. And we have to bring them from that to a PhD level in a very short amount of time with very little time that they have. So this is the challenge. It's a iterative educational challenge and briefing. And I've become expert at doing that. So I've been doing it since 1993 when I briefed President Clinton, the CIA director. But it's a daunting task, really, because it's a very complex problem. Then you have, therefore, wrong conclusions. For example, let's say you have certain luminaries that will come along.
Israel full evacuation, no way.
Like Lou Elizondo and others. And they'll go in and say, we don't have anything that can fly like that. Right? Yeah. Now, as soon as that Tic Tac video came out, look at the record. I said, that's a Lockheed Skunk Works device. And since then, there's an executive at the Lockheed Skunk Works that's confirmed that. Now, members of Congress knows that's one of our covert anti-grav or gravity field propulsion devices. They've been around since the late 50s. That particular structure, we have documentation from 1967 in Pennsylvania, operational, and we have several new whistleblowers who have been.
That's where the tungsten bells showed up in '64 or something around then, and somewhere in the States in America, that tungsten bell would have not tungsten bell, that bell they used to try to travel and things like that. The Germans, what's it called? Help me out here, Vast.
Who are green?
The bell or something they call it.
Berets who have been on special operations where that device has been used for surveillance. So now I knew this, and whenever it was, 17, 18, when that whole brouhaha happened.
Yeah.
And I went, no, that's not alien. And I spoke to the pilot, Fravor, David, and I said, look, Dave, this is ours. And he says, there's no way. I said, yeah, it is way. But this is the problem. This is the big problem. If you accept that disinformation narrative, that we don't have anything that can move like that, humans don't, a priori, you're going to reach the conclusion that everything that those objects are doing and have been doing are alien when they're not. They're false flag operations. And this includes mutilations of cattle and people, abductions, human trafficking, moving arms and drugs around, all kinds of skullduggery. And so those criminal actions being done by this organization, the way they cover it up,
I wonder how much are behind fentanyl.
is to claim everything
Come
that's
in,
going
let's see if we
on
can
is
stop the coffee.
extraterrestrial when it isn't. Now, I knew this in the early 90s, 91, 92. I had people come to me from Army intelligence and the aerospace sector. My uncle had worked his whole life in and said, hey, that thing that just happened is all over the UFO news. That was us. And then I had people come forward who had been on the man-made UFOs, made to look alien, who were then doing abductions for their psychological warfare purpose. And, if you look at our documentary, The Cosmic Codes, what we had there was we found a document, a reference by Jacques Vallée. He had received a document from, and he made this entry in his book in 92. But the document was from 1985, where it states that the CIA is using advanced tech to stage false alien abductions in Brazil and Argentina, targeting their word, peasants, for its psychological warfare value. It's in black and white. So then the question is, how much of what people think are alien is, and how much of it is ours, and how much of the phenomenon that's the Stranger Things kind of stuff, like the Montauk experiment, where they did all kinds of electromagnetic experiments, and these weird creatures would pop into this dimension, and some of them got loose and ran off. I don't know if you know this, but that was in the 60s. And this has been the biggest struggle I've had over the last 30 years is, getting people to understand that, so that they're not ascribing this to, quote, aliens, a term I don't use, because aliens have become a wastebasket for everything weird, right? So anything that's kind of like a poltergeist or a Bigfoot or some from another dimension or something that the CIA is doing on their warfare operations, all of that's called alien when it isn't, right? So I try to use very specific terms like an extraterrestrial biological entity, even.
No, you called it right the first time. We're sticking with that one.
With a craft from another star system.
We're sticking with that one.
Something that's from a parallel dimension that's within space-time, where, this gets almost into a theological discussion of
because it's true. That's why it's a theological discussion.
That could exist in other dimensions that aren't 3D, but with enough intention can become 3D. And that is, gets into, I love the story when I was at the Vatican in the 90s when Pope John Paul was the Pope. And I was meeting with his senior theologian, a wonderful man who got very involved in the UFO subject, named Monsignor Balducci. And I was at his apartments overlooking St. Peter's. And, we started talking about this. He says, look, neither angels nor demons require flying saucers. The goal being to convince people there's an
Thanks, Di. I did look that up, but I didn't show Gabe like I should have.
extraterrestrial threat.
Speak of the devil.
That we can create a totalitarian global military system and unite the world, not in peace and some golden age enlightenment, but in war. That's the long-term agenda. And it's about control of the human populace, but it's also about, quite frankly, vast amounts of money and power, because they would like for this to be disclosed in a way that redounds to the benefit, that flows to the benefit of the same military industrial covert players that have been keeping this secret. So that's what I call capture of disclosure. It's just like big oil captured environmental research. You have capture of disclosure that's happened with these counterintelligence operations, most of whom don't even know that's what their role is. They're just doing as they're told, or being given partial and false information, and then seeing that the doors open so that they can speak about it. Let me just say on the record, I don't know what that atomic humanoid is. Because the test, he took the DNA material and then it was all falsified data. We can prove it. If you doubt it, go into the Atacama section of our archive, epiarchive.com. All of this is in there, all the evidence of this. But look, I'm one guy and I'm constantly being run over by people who, we
I'll show you when I hang up, Di.
trust, and then they end up getting enough money or threats or whatever it is. It's a combination of blackmail and bribery, right? That happens, and threats. But that's just how humans are. I mean, for the most part, not everybody. I'm obviously working with some wonderful people who I trust very much. But this is what happens over and over in the UFO world, and it's almost rare that it doesn't. Frankly, if you really have something important. Now, so I would like to see that pursued. I did hold back a tiny little bit of the rib of the Atacama humanoid to be tested. The question is, who do I trust to do the test? And
that is
because when I was first connecting with Gary Nolan, he was, nobody knew who he was. He reached out to me, and then offered to do this, and we met, and I kind of educated him on the subject and brought him forward. And then, of course, he betrayed that trust by falsifying the report. And in fact, I have a top geneticist, one of the top geneticists in the world, who offered help to Dr. Nolan at Stanford to do it properly. And he flat out refused and says, no, I don't want anyone involved looking at this. So he rejected that person. In fact, I was just texting him today. That he's a preeminent. He started
Welcome back, Shawnee.
Genome sequencing companies in the United States. He's a PhD. But some of these, so when that happens, you just go, well, this is par for the course. Remember this issue, according to the 1950 memo from Top Secret from Canada, the Wilbur Smith memo, it's called in our archive, states that this is the most secret program in the history.
I've read, who do you call it?
50 memo from Top Secret from Canada. The
writer he just
one of the
mentioned.
major genome sequencing companies in the United States. He's a PhD. But some of these, so when that happens, you just go, well.
Wilbur Smith, he's Australian, or I'm pretty sure he's Australian.
This is par for the course. Remember this issue, according to the 1950 memo from Top Secret from Canada, the Wilbur Smith memo, it's called in our archive, states that this is the most secret program in the history of the United States, surpassing the secrecy of the development of the hydrogen bomb, which in 1950 was in development but had not been perfected or detonated. So you can imagine the kinds of money and threats and inducements that are done to keep this secret, or now that it's coming out, have it come out in the way that this cabal wants it to come out, a false narrative, which leads to people going, oh my God, we're being invaded. It's Alien Invasion Week on the History Channel, and that kind of rubbish. But this is really what it's about. It's about the narrative and the control of the future by disclosing the subject in a false manner that induces fear, and then you control the masses through fear. I mean, look what they did with COVID. They were able to shut down the whole planet.
Okay, so he's nothing but a shyster, let's be honest.
Even though now the World Health Organization, amidst the shutdowns, made things worse. And every doctor I know with an IQ over 110, Frank.
That's over. Had a minute to go. I'll show that to Big Gabe later. Here we go. Oh, wrong way. Watch later. Like videos. Got some.
I did a teaching on Zoom recently, and I think that's something you guys might want to do. She's going to be doing more of her health-related studies there on Zoom meetings, private Zoom meetings. A lot of times on Friday nights, it could vary at 8 p.m. Eastern, and I think you'll find that interesting. But she got into the menopause and andropause that humanity faces. That's basically where when we get to the part of recycling, or not recycling, but when we get to the part of our cycles of life, in other words, we can no longer produce children, our bodies begin to go through changes. And those changes affect your health in very adverse ways, in so much that eventually we die from those issues there. And I started looking at that more from a biblical perspective as well. And what I discovered was quite alarming. Our next video we'll be doing here on Patreon here in the next day, probably second day of our marathon videos here, is going to be the Apophis asteroid that is anticipated to pass so close to Earth it'll be below our satellites. It is a asteroid the size of the Empire State Building. And it is believed that it could, but it's a low percentage that it could hit Earth. It's, right now they're saying about a 5% chance because the gravitational pull could fluctuate enough. But nonetheless, they're talking about a keyhole that it will go through as it passes by, which in 2036, when it passes again, they say it's a 100% chance it will impact off the coast of California, no less, and will cause an impact so massive of earthquakes, tidal waves, things like that, that it could really have some devastating effects there. And they don't see a whole heck of a lot of chance of that changing. Not good. Anyway, 2036. I guess I'll be about 76, 77 years old at the time when that time comes around. But let's, and I haven't gotten into my third one yet, fourth or fifth, but I do have some very interesting topics. I may be getting into hyperkings at that point, something I shared with you years ago that I have to rename the storms. And that's happening now. It has a lot to do with the sun. Another thing I shared greatly with you also from a good friend of mine, a scientist out of Europe there, Harold. We talked about that a great deal of what's going to happen with the sun, and we're going to be getting into that in our third video. But I want to bring you back now. Judging the one who imprisoned humanity. And let me kind of start this off where I got inspired. My wife was a great inspiration in this, mainly because she was doing her Zoom that she had just recently, which we are going to be loading that video.
Thanks, Di.
I think we're going to load it on a channel that she has, a separate channel. And I'll get you that information once I get all that loaded up, and I'll share that with you guys on Israeli News Live, so that you'll be able to see the teaching she did on menopause, really speaking to women and what they go through, and that there is help. It doesn't have to be the taboo that it has been for literally millennial. Women have just suffered unbelievably. Men tend to go through andropause a little bit later than what women do with menopause, where the testosterone levels in their body begin to drop as well. But as she began to discuss this, and she began to do a lot of research because of things that she suffers in her own body, she discovered that practically every receptor in your body, whether it be your heart, your lungs, your brain, etc., you have estrogen receptors. And as long as the ovaries in women are producing that estrogen, you can relatively stay in very good health, unless something else comes along to interrupt that. But once women reach what they call the perimenopause stage, and I'm not going to pretend to know these things, I don't, so I think listening to her will be a heck of a lot better than listening to me on that subject. But just to kind of give you a little overview, because of the biblical side I'm going to take going through this here, once that women get to that age of perimenopause, which begins normally around mid-40s, is before they get to menopause, they begin to start noticing changes. That's because the levels are dropping in the body. Men around their mid-50s begin to start having testosterone levels drop in their bodies. And of course, the testosterone, just like the estrogen for women, which women also need a small amount of testosterone in their body, have major effects on keeping you in good health. I thought that was
interesting.
Rather odd.
Yeah.
Thinking about it, it's almost like we're only good for being able to come on the earth, make babies, and then leave again.
Basically, yeah.
What does humanity become then? Right? Let's look at what happens. Menopause in women and andropause in men are both marked by a drop in sex hormone production. These hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, don't just regulate fertility, they are critical for cell repair, cardiovascular health, neuroprotection, and immune modulation. Didn't know that, right? I didn't either. When they drop, women see increased risk of breast cancer, heart disease, osteoporosis, Alzheimer's, and metabolic syndrome. And of course, the metabolic syndrome definitely sends them on a tailspin like you could never believe. I mean, most of the time when we think of this subject, especially for men, you hear about menopause, we think, oh gosh, your wife is just going to go through a bunch of hot flashes. She becomes very irritable, things like that, but you have no clue what she's really going through. And because we're not women, we really don't fully understand what they suffer. But I have seen firsthand from what my wife has gone through, it is very debilitating. And with men, as my testosterone levels begin to drop, I began to have all kinds of issues, but I never thought it had anything to do with testosterone. Well, what happens to men? They have
they lose 10% of their body weight each decade they're alive.
Increased risk of cardiovascular disease, muscle loss, cognitive decline, short-term memory loss. That really became a major factor that I began to suffer with as well. Depression, insulin resistance. You know, it's not just about being able to have children. It has everything to do with the entire health of your body. So, you know, this really becomes a problem. So from purely the biological lens, it looks like the body's maintenance budget is cut back once reproduction is no longer possible. And nature invests most heavily in those reproductive years. That's just the bottom line of it. So I decided, okay, what's really going on? We are at the Noon Institute of Biblical Research. We study ancient documents. We dive deep into all the different manuscripts that we can find out there, biblical as well, Dead Sea Scrolls, etc. And when you begin to look at this, merely even from the biblical response itself, it is shocking when you see what really happened. And we're going to start looking at that here in just a moment here. It entangles humanity, is what happens, into reproduction, and therefore trapping the souls of people in a body of flesh. And we're going to look at some of the things that Jesus spoke about on this very subject here. And, you know, and as I mentioned also, in the fertility ends, the body quickly becomes vulnerable to breakdown and disease. It suggests that biology is optimized for producing the next generation, not sustaining the current one indefinitely. Think about that. So, in a fallen state, once the reproduction task is done, the physical vessel is allowed to decline. So, there's some really concerns there. In Genesis chapter 3, when we look at the fall, God says, in pain you shall bring forth children. Pain and sorrow. He talks about Eve bringing forth her children, pain and sorrow. Now, I've shared with you many times before that pain and sorrow in the Hebrew language doesn't mean that she's going to just physically hurt by giving birth, although we already know from what we have been told as men that it is a very painful process. But yet, you can have epidurals. There are some women, even without epidurals, have relatively very little trouble. having children. Makes you wonder. Well, I guess it's not pain in that regards, but as I shared with you once before, when women, when Eve was given this, this was said to her, it was dealing with the fact that, for a couple of reasons here, but mainly because God knew, I'll get you over here to that, God knew that that when the fall would come, he knew that she was going to have sons. Now, I'm going to come back to Genesis 1 in just a moment, but let's move over here real quick.
Okay, Shawnee.
Genesis
Good night.
chapter 3. And look at that fall, because there's one important thing when we look at the fact that she's going to bring forth, as we often term it, children. He says, I will greatly multiply thy pain and thy travail and pain.
No, that takes an hour to do. I'll finish with this. Hang on. Actually, pretty sure I saved him.
Whenever you're getting ready, we're here for it with cold bevvies close by.
The words of life, the words of light.
That wasn't what I was looking for. Okay, which one will I do? I'll do this one. I know what I'll do. I'll show you the Australians stand up the Muslims. Pretty sure I'll put a save on that. Description, library. Rapture, no, this is what I'm after. Oh man. He's not there. I'll just do it this way.
We have Peter Thiel and some of the things he's doing now.
Oh my God, you're John Chaplin. I was literally just watching you on TV.
My unique insights might be able to help you find the killer.
What are you doing? Death Valley, now streaming only on BritBox.
Johnson's come out firing with the click and dry system.
Bad day to be a bindi. A new sport is growing. Join the National Gardening League.
We have Peter Thiel and some of the things he's doing now. Joe Rogan, job layoffs from AI taking, of course, over, and so much more. This is Tony. Hope you're all doing well. We have also a number of the big stories with something being discovered in the previous administration that is pretty surprising. We'll get into that. We have another country that just fell, actually two of them, over the last 24 hours. Literally. I mean, look at these pictures here. Yeah. So we got two countries apparently collapsing. France is one of them. We got so much stuff. We even have world leaders saying they're going to live 150 years. We got some new technology. We'll get into all this stuff. We'll start here. No more car payments. This guy is literally trading his car back in so he didn't have to pay.
What's up, guys? So I'm doing what a lot of people are doing now.
What's
I'm
that?
turning in my car, so that way I have no more car payments and I can save that money. This is my car right now. 2017 Kia Optima, runs perfect. I love it, runs great. The problem is my payment is $450 a month and I still owe 5 years of payments. Do the math.
Wow.
It's crazy, right? Yeah.
Wow.
So today I'm actually going to call the bank and I'm going to say, come pick up your car. Come pick up your car. I'm not going to make payments anymore.
Or you can just stop paying until and then one day it just disappears on you. You can do it either way. Yeah, so of course a lot of people are not, obviously with inflation, with the fact that job wages are not going up with inflation, some people are resorting to doing things like that. Now, of course, this guy may want to walk to work or ride a bike. Here we have a guy getting arrested for jaywalking. No joke, literally jaywalking.
Their hands.
My rib is killing me.
Yeah, I got a neighbor that's coming to check you out.
I didn't do anything.
Well, you were jaywalking.
After the incident, Charles Beach provided footage to his local TV news station.
You were jaywalking. And they like throw him on the ground, maybe break his rib for jaywalking. He didn't even respond. He didn't even react or fight back or anything. He did move really quickly in one spot and then put his arms up on one of these Coke or Pepsi machines here. But he literally didn't resist. It was a weird way he kind of flinched up and put his arms up. Maybe it just like they automatically assumed he was going to, fight back or something. And they all just tackle him, even though he's literally complying the entire time. Just because he flinched a little bit. I guess he flinched. Jaywalking and flinching will get you broken ribs, apparently, in some places.
The local community was shocked at what they saw, but the Mansfield PD is defiantly claiming that they did nothing wrong. But
your face cam there shows very obviously he didn't do anything wrong. So you got obviously people acting a little strange. Police running amok in a lot of countries, particularly recent in the UK. You got people getting arrested that are in wheelchairs for holding up signs that they love their country in the UK. It's really ridiculous. It just seems like we live in a bizarre world at this point. We have here Chael Sonnen and Tito Ortiz, if you remember those two guys from the UFC. Even until this day, apparently Tito is holding a grudge and wants a rematch with them, which he was completely disrespectful.
I want an opportunity to have a match. Wait. Hold on a second. I've been retired for 3 years, and I've been coaching high school wrestling. I've been coaching kids a little better than you. I take it. You want to go one more? Me and you should actually do a match here at RAM.
It's so ridiculous. I mean, they're like old men at this point, and they're like he's holding a grudge for over a decade. What is it, like 15 years ago? At this point, holding a grudge, wants a wrestling match with Chael Sonnen, and they used to be UFC fighters. It's just really ridiculous, and he is very disrespectful to Chael.
He wants to beat up an old man, even though he's an ex-wrestler. He's still an old man. Oh, says me.
But you have also just in society, people seem to be much more disrespectful. This video just went recently viral. This guy's talking about how society has been of recent.
And you see this in everyday interactions. People are not civil anymore. There's no civility in anything. It's all just get out of my way. I'm going to work or going to the store. There's no patience in anything. Everything is rushed. Like, for example, when you're driving, at least in my town, I'm sure many of you can relate, you're going the speed limit, someone's going to ride your ass. That's a guarantee. Even if you're going 5 or 10 miles over, there's somebody that wants to go faster. Someone is in there.
I remember when road rage started happening. It was a new thing to everyone. Now look at it, it's normal. But I remember when it was really quiet, really, you didn't hear about it.
Someone is big and important and has things to do.
I had this happen on my vacation. I'm just trying to I'm just going outside my city, just barely starting to get outside the city limits, and I'm going 10 over the speed limit, right? Like, it's not like I'm going slow. And actually, at first, I slowed down because there was a cop, because obviously you don't want to be going too fast right next to a cop, right? So I slowed down to maybe only a couple miles over the speed limit. And then I started raising it again to about 10 over. And there's this dude in like a Trans Am or something behind me riding my tail right after we went past the cop. I'm already going 10 over after being past the cop, and he's still riding my ass. I'm like, what the hell is up with this guy? And I'm like, okay, whatever. He doesn't seem to be that ridiculous. So I just kind of ignored him. And then I pull up to the light, and apparently he got over into the other lane, and he was like yelling. I didn't even know it because we had the windows closed. My wife's in the seat next to me. And he's just yelling and apparently called me a fat ass and all these other names. And I'm like, yeah, you can't even see what I look like. I'm like he's like in a Trans Am and I'm way up in a van, much higher up. I couldn't even hear him, but my wife's like looking at this dude, like cursing me out. I'm like, what is wrong with people? You go past the cop and you want to go 20 over after you go past the cop right afterwards, and you're going to curse someone out for not doing that? That's how insane our society is now. And I agree with this guy. It's just people seem crazy anymore.
Now, when everybody's applying for jobs, they're the nicest person on the planet. They're hard workers. They're honest. But that's not how they treat people outside of work.
Yeah, exactly.
That they interact.
Sounds about right. And actually, we do have some information to talk about with regards to the jobs. Apparently, a job revision come out, and it has to do with the former administration literally lying by about 1 million jobs over. And we'll get into that in a minute. Here we have Rosia O'Donnell saying that our president gave $1 billion to the man with the island. Where does she get this stuff from? I don't understand. She keeps making up these weird stories. I don't know what website she's reading.
We all know why. You have to know why. Why else do you think he paid $1 billion?
She's saying he paid $1 billion.
What happened to her herpes? She had a herpes on her lip. What happened to that?
$1 million to, of course, Jeffrey. And it's just really ridiculous. She's already been called out on some of these things. She keeps posting more and more stuff like this.
She's just an angry old lady, isn't she, guys?
Our president's talking about literally revoking her status as a resident of America or citizen. So it's really weird what's going on with that whole thing. She's obviously living, I think, in Ireland at this point. I think she has Irish roots. She is, of course, working her way towards a defamation lawsuit, according to this guy. This is kind of weird.
Rules are kind of different here, but what are your thoughts?
Of course she could be sued, and there was malice there, and I would be happy to help.
Yeah, it's interesting. Of course, he also said to deal with it. I don't know though about this guy, how much connections he has, of course, to the guy with the island. But with regards to our president, he was friends with the guy for a decade prior to the whole island thing starting. And once I think from what I can tell is once he realized that's what he had and what he was doing, that's when he stopped being his friend. So it was around,
as far as I can tell, that's what happened too.
The island started up, I think, in 1999, right around that time that Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman were in that movie Eyes Wide Shut, ironically, or maybe unironically. And I covered before how a number of actors stopped getting roles right around that time because they wouldn't take part maybe in some of the stuff like Val Kilmer, Mel Gibson, and others. But it's just really interesting. Our president cut the guy off around that time as well. Maybe it took a while for him to realize what was going on with this dude that was his friend, or at least sort of a friend. And obviously, if they had anything on him, they would have used it a long time ago. Probably more than 10 years ago. So I think what ended up happening is because the people who actually were involved had the evidence in their hands, they just they corrupted it and made it a point to him. This is kind of my theory on it. But of course, that doesn't mean that our president, doesn't have things he's done wrong in the past or perhaps made bad decisions. I'm sure he's made some bad decisions, but I don't think he's done anything crazy like that. We have here Joe Rogan And Tim Dillon talking about Peter Thiel and his weird company and all the things he's into. And this is hilarious. Check this out.
Well, here's what's really wild to me. You build military AI, military drone, autonomous drone technology to export to war zones all over the world. You build domestic surveillance technology to surveil our friends and neighbors. And then your other pet passion is the Antichrist.
And of course, Peter has some interesting ties to some of the people around us, including our VP. And apparently our VP, talking JD there, has changed his name multiple times. A lot of people don't even know about this. That's not his real name. He was not born with that name. He's changed his name 3 or 4 times. Who changes their name 3 or 4 times? He also was funded by Peter, Thiel here. And so there's some weird stuff going on there. There's some really strange things going on there. And again, our president, even though he tends to, he's gotten better. He's gotten way better at not getting the wrong people around him. I feel like he's still doing it, maybe in a different way than before. Before it was like really
maybe he meant to do it
everywhere. Like he didn't realize that like almost half the people that were around him were bad. Now it's maybe like a quarter or a fifth or an eighth or so. I don't know how many it is, but it's less. But there still is.
No, if Trump doesn't do this, he's a fraud.
People around him. I mean, why are billionaires? Peter Thiel is just like him and Sam Altman just really are like the most ridiculous characters out there. I mean, even when he was called out on this, Peter Thiel on an interview was called out like, some people wonder like, why are you building stuff that the Antichrist would actually like to use with your companies? And you like want to talk about this biblically, and he has this weird smirk on his face. And I told you guys how he went to the Bilderberg meeting recently. I think it was a couple months back at this point. It's like so obvious, right? There's that whole thing. We got, like I said, we got a ton of stuff to get into. We got here some crazy things going on in other countries. We got also
come on, jump up.
Some weird stuff going on with technology we're going to get into as well. First, I mentioned we got a giveaway going on. If you haven't got involved, you might want to do it now. There's only 3 days left. $500 Amazon gift cards, $500 laptop. Very easy to enter. The link is the first link in the description, I believe. Very easy. Just go click on that. Pause the video. Take about 2 minutes. Put your name and email in one time. Click a bunch of buttons, and you're pretty much done. You'll set yourself to several entries. You'll also be following me on my other social media. Go click on all those and follow everywhere. You'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Link is in the description of this book here, The Lost Ways. How your great-great-grandfather lived without electricity, out of the cellar, do things around the house as they did in the old days, hundreds of pages. So you're going to need that book. When the power goes out, when there's Terminator 2 everywhere because of some of the weird AI stuff that they're inventing. And I got some weird technology to show you in a minute here, but you can definitely want to get that. Get the printed version, $37. Also, food supply, 25-year shelf life. Go check that out as well. Got a deal going on. You actually get an extra month for free.
He's got good food deals.
Free for $6.97, 4 months. $6.97. You almost spend $6.97 for 1 month worth of food right now at Walmart. 4 months of food, $6.97. You also have other options available. They have 3 days for $20. Go check it out. Link is in the description for that. Let's get back to the video. So we have, of course, job growth. This is interesting. Revised down almost 1 million jobs through March, signaling the economy is shaking your footing. They realize actually what it signals is the former administration lied for like the 5th time. And I showed this all in my other videos in the past. Every time they would say, oh, look, the jobs are going up. Talking about back in 2024 and 2023, like literally a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later, they would revise it. Oh, we were wrong by 1 million jobs. Sorry about that. Actually, it's negative. And this is what happened this time again. But of course, they waited. Maybe they made it hard to filibuster somehow to get this information out. Yeah, they pretty much destroyed the economy. And of course, the jobs are looking a little bit better now, but they're still not good. Our president actually is doing something. I'll show you in a minute here. But we have this whole thing with AI. Check this out.
It's January. And if you're not paying attention, you'll wake up unemployed, broke, and alone.
And I don't mean that as a random list of 3 things. I mean that as 3 of the biggest avoidable threats facing men right now. AI is coming for half of all white-collar jobs. Not factory work this time, office jobs, analysts, coders, even lawyers.
There's one good news. There's one good thing. Our president is bringing tons of manufacturing back to America, and it takes a while for them to rebuild these plants, reopen them.
And that's why it won't happen. We haven't got time to build these plants.
Well, we had, I mentioned before, like months ago, Stellantis has got like 4 new plants that are going to be, well, 2 or 3 were old ones. I can't remember if it was 1 or 2 new ones. I can't remember. There's like tons of these coming back to America. Even Apple, even I can't remember. It's like $4 billion. What was it? It's like an insane amount of money being invested back into America. I can't remember the amount. You have Mark Zuckerberg, all these guys bringing jobs back. Although at the same time, it's like a double-edged sword because they're also trying to bring AI into everything. So it's like jobs are coming back that are more blue collar, but white collar are like disappearing partially. But I think also part of it is this is a bubble. I think it's like the internet.com bubble. People are like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever. AI is going to solve everything. I don't think it's going to be that. I think it's going to be discovered that it's not as good as they thought. And actually, they're going to maybe they're going to go overboard with the AI. And then they're going to come back and think, oh, shit, we got to hire all these people back. I think that's what's going to end up going to happen because I think AI has a lot of issues. And we've seen it recently. I think it was Taco Bell, where they tried to use it for ordering through the drive-thru. And you could easily fool it, screw it up. One guy ordered like 11,000 drinks or something and like really screwed it up and froze it. I mean, there's a lot of funny things like that or show that AI is not as good as people think it is. I've seen it lie. I've seen it like say stuff that was flat out not true. I put in there one time something about 2025 and it said that Biden did it. I'm like, bro, it's 2025, not 2024. What are you doing? Like I've seen AI make lots of really dumb mistakes. So it's not like they're perfect or they don't make mistakes.
Meanwhile, continued deficit spending is causing
Good night, dog. God bless.
Gut your buying power.
Well, this is what I was saying about the Fed, and we have an interesting other story that came out that our president's going with the nuclear option with the Senate because they're stopping all his confirmations. I think it's like 160, 180 left. They keep filibustering like crazy. Chuck Schumer, particularly, is the one that's thwarting all of this. And there's actually this nuclear option that Obama did that now gives the precedent for our president to do it, which means that he doesn't need to get a 2/3 vote to get things through now. He get a 51. Guess what? We have 53% in there right now. This could be used for getting rid of the Fed. We could get the Fed completely removed, and then we would not have this inflation problem, and then we could put the dollar back on the gold standard. So there's all these weird developments that have been happening. That's from like a day ago, by the way, the stuff I just told you about. And I learned about that from Matt Morse's channel.
Now that stays all that news.
Housing is out of reach, and some analysts are predicting either a serious market correction or outright recession in the coming.
This guy doesn't know about this part. I mean, the fact is, I think our president has a number of things up his sleeve. And I think he's going to pull off something with the Fed. We have Scott Bessent out talking about these job numbers being corrected.
Mr. Secretary, the economy did add nearly 500,000 manufacturing jobs under former President Biden. In this case, since April, again, you're actually losing manufacturing jobs. Is that problematic for your policy?
Well, a couple of things, Chris. We're going to get the revisions for last year next week, and there may be as big as an 800,000 job downward revision. Again, this would be the
it was more than that. It was 911,000. Now we learned he was actually correct. It's actually more than that. It's difficult to overstate how useless BLS data has become. A change was necessary, time to restore confidence. You can see here how they told us that it was really good when actually it wasn't. There's 1 million less than they claimed. We actually were in the negative in 2024. Actually, pretty much his entire time, former president, almost his entire time. You can see how negative it went in the end. It's like back in 2009, the way the numbers went, like the other crash. You have here, of course, also, this is another BLS scandal. The president's absolutely right to fire the BLS commissioner. What this means there is virtually no job creation last year under the former administration. The Fed should have started cutting in February. Of course, the Fed is directly against our president, and this is why we need to get rid of them. Put the dollar back on the gold standard. You will gain literally overnight double your purchasing power, and over time could easily get up to fivefold your purchasing power currently. I mean, I'm not joking. Like, you literally can have 5 times the purchasing power you currently have. Meaning, if you're making $20 an hour, it'll be more like $100 an hour because the prices will go down so much. And so it's kind of amazing. A lot of people are not aware of how this works. We've seen this happen in another country. I've talked about it before. But we do have this issue with AI. This AI is really a big issue, particularly with white-collar jobs. You can see 137,000 layoffs in tech in 2025 so far, which is quite a bit. And it looks like, where are these companies? A lot of it was in July. It was a massacre in July. Intel, what is that, TCS, whatever that is. Microsoft, all going AI, from what I can tell. Obviously, we know Billy, but the computer guy, is not exactly a fan of people looking at the stuff he does in his free time, right? So we do have a president doing some interesting stuff. He is now banned outsourcing to, of course, India, which is where also some of these jobs are going. But I think he needs to really understand how much AI is not a good thing. This is still a big issue with our president. We have here now 2 countries that have collapsed. France.
Trump knows all about it. He'd have to know about it. We know about it. If we know about it, Trump would have to know about it.
This is one of them. I didn't even have that pulled up. Their GOV just collapsed in France. Let's pull that up. All right, so let's see what we got here. September 8th.
Right, boss. I'm out, guys.
September 10th, demanding new elections. So we're seeing the French GOV collapses. Now they are demanding impeachment or resignation of Macron. The entire country will be brought